7 ways to tell your property manager is useless and costing you money. Like it or not, your property manager could be the single reason you're not making as much money from your investment property as you should. So how do you spot the dodgy tricks played by shonky property managers? Let's face it, selecting the right property manager is not high on many investors' agendas. Despite spending countless hours researching different areas and conducting rigorous due diligence on a property purchase, many don't apply the same strict criteria when it comes to choosing the person who will be managing the property they've just bought. This is crazy. Often, an investor will take the recommendation from the agent who sold them the property, or give the job to the real estate agent with the cheapest rates. Bad move. And if you don't vet your property manager carefully, this could end up costing you in terms of lost rent, expensive maintenance costs, and devalued property values. So how do you spot these sneaky tricks? We've surveyed our top 50 landlords about their worst past experiences with property managers and what to look out for, so you can avoid losing money and being taken for a ride. Let's get started. 1. Property managers who side with the tenant and pass on every single request and complaint to the landlord. These property managers forget who they're working for. Their job is to make sure the tenant is comfortable in their home, but also to make sure the landlord receives the rent on time and has a viable going concern on fair terms. 2. Agency principals who employ junior staff who are either transient and or ill-equipped and inexperienced to deal with the day-to-day challenges of property management. No investor wants a property manager who was a disgruntled student yesterday and will be an apprentice hairdresser tomorrow. 3. Property managers who get cozy in the role and neglect the opportunities to suggest rent increases when market rents indicate a rental review is required. A lazy property manager will let the tenant stay on the same rent, only to upset the tenant 3 years later when a $40 PW increase is applied to catch the tenant up to market rent. Good landlords appreciate good tenants, but good managers make sure good tenants don't fall so far behind in market rent that it's a nasty shock to them when the rent is adjusted. 4. Property managers who give work without question to tradespeople who aren't offering great value. A good property manager should know what the going call-out rates, labor rates, and materials charges are across trades. If in doubt, a second quote should be sought. It's upsetting for a busy, time-poor landlord to have to step in and source their own quotes, particularly when they're paying a management fee to cover these activities. 5. Not conducting regular inspections. A good property manager will inspect the property at least once a year and provide a written report with photos to the owner, as it is important to keep up to date on the condition of the property and whether it's being maintained in good order by the tenant. By not carrying out these inspections, damage may be incurred, which, over time, costs the landlord more. 6. Property managers who hold firm at an asking price for an available property that sits vacant, as opposed to reducing the rent and being proactive in finding a tenant quickly. After all, every week of vacancy costs the landlord significantly, and for the sake of a $10 or $20 decrease in the asking price, a landlord could be in front financially. I often say to my clients, don't hold out for $400 PW and cost yourself 4 weeks of rental when you can adjust after week 1 to $390 PW and place a tenant in week 2. Holding out for that $10 PW is costing you 40 weeks worth of that increase each week if you don't get that tenant in. And lastly, 7. Property managers who don't know who and what is living in the property. Nothing is more upsetting than seeing a landlord discover undisclosed pets, subtenants, illegal activities, or situations via a source other than their property manager. We recently had an investor client tell me they'd spotted a cat in their property's backyard after the tenant had vehemently told them it was just a visitor's cat. There was no doubt the cat was theirs. The yard was set up elaborately with kitty litter, scratching toys, and a bin full of cat food. It was not a sign of a visiting feline, and it was all visible from the street. Listen, your investment property is one of your biggest assets, so don't risk it with a team that doesn't care. Here's what just one client has to say about ONE Agency NOOSA. Prior to getting the management, Grant's team took proactive steps to clean the pool and assess the pump whilst doing a general runaround to tidy the property on their own initiative. Without question, They are the best hands-on team we've experienced. Professional, exacting, and a pleasure to deal with. We were promised a tenant within 3 weeks of engagement, and right before Christmas, following 6 months without a tenant, and after 2 years of previous management letting the property become run down, they delivered on their promise on the 24th of December at 4 p.m. Merry Christmas. Graham and Lee Worth of Dunan. Call Grant Baker now on 0417-021-713 for the next and last property manager you'll ever need.